What up, world? It's your boy Chuck Wick, ill, aka Charles Brown, back again with another Talking Facts. But first, I want to ask you, are you good? Good. And if you good, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit them notifications, follow your boy on social media, all right? Oh, no. As of today, Joe Budden has fired Rory from the JBP, and Maul was nowhere to be found. Budden was talking to empty chairs. He said, Rory, you are in breach of your contract, and going forward from here on out, you are fired and you are not welcome back. So much for that. Que sera, sera. Your boy Joe Budden tweeted, it was a hell of a run. And it was a hell of a run. Now, I've been talking about this, everybody been talking about this for a couple of weeks, right? And I don't think the video I did for the last, when they did the shaking the tree episode, I did a video. I don't think that was a week ago. Well, I said this podcast was never going to be the same. And I pretty much used the word destroyed in my title. That Joe destroyed it. And a lot of people was like, oh, ha, so much for that. That Budden destroyed it because they right back on the air. I don't think it's been a week and a half at best that they had this shaking a tree. The fake episode where they supposedly shook their hands and kumbaya and we worked it all out. I don't even think they've had 2 full episodes since that episode. How are we here already? So let me just tell you where the mistakes was made, right? So this is my thing with this whole thing. First of all, Budden ain't right about a lot of stuff, but this one right here, to me, I ain't gonna say a lot of stuff, but some of the stuff he does is really crazy. But this one right here, he has a leg to stand on if what he's saying is true. Now, if you're listening to Budden's side, he's saying that Maul and Rory has reached out to their lawyers and asked to see his books, asked to see Joe Budden's books. If you don't know what the term books means, that means your records of the money that you've made off particular deals. They want to see his books on the Spotify. They want to see his books off the other, the records off the other deals that he's made. And Joe Budden is basically saying, look, I got these deals on my own. No help from you guys. I brought these deals to the table, and therefore these are deals for me to eat off, not anyone else. And it depends on how this thing is structured, if that's factual. Now, I'm going to assume they get some money from this because they're part of the show. But he's saying, I'm going to eat better because I brought the deals, right? Now, it depends on, no one has seen these contracts except Budden and his team. But it depends on if you're saying in the contract that if I'm the one who brings the deals in, then I am the one who eats better, then okay. Every man for himself. I don't think that Maul and Rory specifically knew that they were able to bring deals in. I don't think they were told, yo, if you get a deal with Exxon, we'll run with it. Or if you get a deal with T-Mobile, we'll run with it. I don't think they knew that. A lot of stuff sound like it's being sprung on these dudes. And a lot of stuff sound like, again, you're going to say, and I'm going to say, you're telling everybody else to read the contract. They should have read the contract as well. Because it sounds like 4 years in, and now they're trying to figure out what's in the contract. Or not, I'm not going to say 4 years. I'm going to say the recent contracts seem like they are trying to figure out where they stand, where their footing is, right? They're trying to figure out how much percentage did I really earn off of these deals. They don't even know the bottom line number of what he made off Spotify, what he sold it to Spotify for. How do you go forward not even knowing that? They don't even know what the dollar amount is for any of this stuff. You're asking now in 2021 for your lawyers to be given records and books and to be held accountable for what is in a contract that you should have looked at last year before COVID even happened? You're asking now to see that? After tempers fly and after emotions? And second of all, how did you come back without this information? You were gone for 6 weeks. How do you come back, sit in that chair, have the shaking the tree episode, and then realize we still ain't getting nothing we want to know? We ain't getting nothing we asked for. And Budden still acting like he's bigger than the show. But you sat there and had a whole show. Y'all didn't even last a week in that fake facade that y'all put on that everything was great and groovy. I said that in my last video. Y'all haven't said anything that was resolved. All you did was repeat what the problems were. Nothing was resolved. And as a matter of fact, it seemed like it got worse because apparently Rory didn't go to work and Budden fired him. And Maul's not there, so we only can assume that Maul quit. Right? Now, Budden saying they're going to sue him if they try to make another podcast too soon, because in the contract, they got to wait a whole year to start a new podcast. This is hilarious. That's called a non-compete clause. Companies will make you sign a non-compete clause that you can't compete for at least a year. You cannot compete in that space for a year. Right? I mean, they still got to get paid off old episodes. You know what I'm saying? They still going to get, they'll be all right. They'll figure it out. But the simple fact is, this is my thing, man. They've been talking about, it was clear that this was not a 3-man podcast for a while. The way this was panning out, and when they started to show that they were upset with this and it wasn't going their way, and then when they stepped down, he brought 2 new people in, and it kept rolling. It was clear. This is not your thing, buddy. This is not your thing. I don't know what you're thinking, but this is not your thing. So if you come back, you need to come back humble and be like, all right, we're going to eat whatever it is. We're going to take our money. You clearly sat there for the paycheck. There's no other reason, because nothing else was resolved in the eyes of the public. It just looked like y'all just came back. You're saying it was all good, but y'all just came back. So to me, if I'm going to sit down, that means I'm eating whatever it is. You the boss. Yes, sir. No, sir. You the boss. I'm not going to come back and then start being like, yo, where the books? I want to know. Don't come back then. That's like having a holdout. You got drafted and then you're going to hold out. Or you done played 3 years for this team and then come time to resign, you hold out. Right? You still don't get your money from holding out, but then you go back to the field. You go to practice. You show up to a game, but then you want to still ask about your money from holding. Nah, hold out. You hold out, show your value. What happened was they saw that their value wasn't much. They saw their value decrease real quick. When the other dudes stepped in, they saw the value decrease drastically. They played the hand and they played it wrong. What happened was they didn't know that he was going to roll that show without him. And they damn sure didn't know that the people was going to roll with it. When the people rolled with that show, they didn't even take a week. They came right back. When the people started saying, oh, this show is rocking without him, they was back sitting in them chairs like nothing, but nothing was resolved. And that's how you still trying to ask for this and that you should have stayed off the scene for. You don't come back on the show and then start asking for all this stuff that you should have got when you was off. If your worth is that much, then you got to stay off. It ain't no in between. You can't come back and then try to flex. At that point, you don't have no leverage. That's why he fired you. You can't come back before you get what you're demanding. Just because you came back don't give you the leverage. I don't know who's advising these guys. They played this way wrong. You don't try to flex your leverage, then find out that the leverage is bad, and then try to sit back in the seat and then try to flex your leverage. You don't have none at that point. At that point, it's sit down, shut up, or you're going to get fired, which is what he did. He played his hand. You played yours. You lost. Whenever you sat back in that seat, this dude, he's like, I got these dudes. At this point, I am the boss, because you sat in the seat and didn't get none of your demands. So at that point, you admitting that I am the boss, and I will fire you. And that's exactly what he did. He didn't have to play games with him because he didn't need him no more. He didn't need him no more. The only reason the podcast did numbers because everybody wanted to see how they was going to act when they came back. right? It did all these numbers because a lot of people was looking for the controversy, and they got it. But after that, where we going? Because the other, you got a podcast where you're making them pay to see the other two do. They paying? They got to pay to see Ice and Ish. They got to pay to see that. That's how good that podcast is in the eyes of the people that watch this, right? So you're telling me I got to show that people willing to put money into versus two goofballs who act like they don't want to be here. They deserve more. You better believe I'm gonna fire their ass on site. The very first infraction. Because at this point, I got all the muscles. If I'm Joe Budden, I got all the muscles. The name of the show is mine. Everybody's hitting me up on Twitter about whatever I'm gonna do next. It ain't got nothing to do with you at this point. They played this terrible. They played this absolutely horrible. And they fed into Akademiks. They fed into all of the shenanigans that he pulled, going at Rory, constantly beating him over the head, and this dude's ego and pride got to him, and somebody out in the world kept going into Rory's ear. Oh, you hear what he's saying? You hear what he's saying? And it got to him. It got to him bad way. He couldn't even do his job well no more. I guarantee you a lot of the animosity between him and Buttons stemmed from the Akademiks problem. I promise you. When Budden's still talking like he's cool with Akademiks and Akademiks flaming you every day, at some point you're going to question your man. You're going to be like, yo, are you really my man? Because you kicking it with this guy a whole lot. And this guy ain't got nothing good to say about me or my girl or nothing else. So that really was a problem, which they never said out loud to anyone. That was a serious problem with these guys. I think that was the stem of a lot of this issue. So now you're fired, right? And a lot of people are like, how you gonna fire a man who started the show with you, who was your friend, who y'all was supposed to be doing this together? Well, he did it. Somehow, some way, the boss rose to the top, because at one point it was supposed to be this three-man thing a year ago. The three amigos, the Three Musketeers, we can never be separated. Charlemagne, you don't know what you're talking about. You're trying to divide and conquer us. Well, you divided and conquered yourself, because sitting here we are with no show. Right? No show, empty chairs. This thing did not last at all. This thing, when it got rocky, it never smoothed out. The waves never mellowed. It got rocky, stayed rocky, and now here we are. It ain't been that long. Bro, when they left for 6 weeks, it was over when they left the first time. They came back just to give it closure. Just for him to officially fire your ass. You really only came back to get fired. You came back to work to get fired. Process that. You came back to work, said everything was all good. Me and the boss is good. And the boss is like, yeah, you got 1 day of missed day, 1 day of work. You come in late one time. That's your ass. You up out of here. Literally screamed on you. You are fired. And poor Maul, man, like, what is happening? Like, are they still friends? Is he still coming to the next cookout? The next party? Is he still coming to the Joe Budden Manor to see the Scrippers? Like, what's happening with this whole thing, bro? And it's just like this, right? We all laughing at people's downfall, and, you know, people are getting a lot of humor out of this. Or some people are like, oh, shaking my head, or this is sad, blah, blah, blah. End of the day, man, this is people's lives. These two dudes' lives are being splashed out there for us to critique, to judge, and to say, oh, what he should have did, what he shouldn't have did. But that's what comes with this. Before we start feeling like, oh man, these guys got a raw deal. These dudes sat up there and talked about everybody else's life. Right? It's a fact. These dudes talked about Megan Thee Stallion's contract and what she should have known and didn't know, and blah, 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 about how you don't know your own business and this and that. This is the same thing they talked about everybody else. And a Twitter guy made a good point. Quite a few people on Twitter are saying that Budden screamed on Lil Yachty for not knowing the details of his contract that he signed. But then when Maul and Rory start to ask about their details, they in essence got fired for it. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing is about Budden being upset that they want to see his books and they want to see the contract with Spotify, which he won't show them either of them. So a lot of people are like, Budden, like, it's kind of hypocritical for you to tell people you should know the ins and outs of your contract and the deals you're signing, but then when these guys want to know, you won't tell them and you ultimately fire him for it. It's a good point. Budden got to respond to that. He got to answer that, right? This is falling on how you feel about the show as well. Whether you have sympathy for them is if you like them. If you like Budden more than them, you're like, screw these dudes. They're just 2 employees. We don't need them. And it's just like falling on the lines like that. And they just no real, you know, some people are objectively looking at the whole thing and breaking it down for what it is. But at the end of the day, Budden gonna get richer. These guys gotta wait a year to make any kind of move, which they might just make a podcast anyway and say, sue me, which I wouldn't do because this guy's really gonna sue you. You know he's petty. He's gonna sue you, stop the podcast, shut down anything you're doing. So I would just wait a year, not that long, bro. Get them royalty checks from these past shows. Eat off that. You ain't gotta do a podcast. Do something on YouTube. Do something different. It ain't gotta be a podcast. Do something different. But end of the day, no, there really are no winners in this because Joe Rep's coming out tarnished with this. A lot of his fans are seeing it as a man egotistical, arrogant, narcissistic. A lot of his fans are changing their image of him. And he's going to have to really, really try to hold this next stuff together. Because everybody is not going to keep following a guy that blows stuff up. Right? Because why you want to get into it when he might not even last a year, blow it up in 6 months? You're going to get tired of watching that. It's going to be the same car crash after a while. And these 2 guys' lives has changed forever because the fat checks they was getting, not going to be these fat checks no more. And a lot of people don't have it to just not get paid. And I know these guys been podcasting for a while, but to not get paid is not cool. They'll figure something out. They'll be all right. Don't cry for them because at the end of the day, their entire job is to talk about other people's lives. So now they got to get their own life together. And on that note, I'm not going to hold y'all, man. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, man. Talking facts. Be back here tomorrow. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. I'm going to catch y'all on the flip. CLBMG.com. Peace.